Welcome to the Living to 100 Club podcast. Here's our host, Dr. Joseph Casciani.
Well, hello to everyone joining us today. You're listening to the Living to 100 Club podcast, and I'm your host, Joe Casciani. I'm passionate about helping people embrace psychologically healthy aging, staying positive, finding purpose, and making the most of all the years we're given, no matter what challenges come along. This podcast is part of a larger mission I call the Living to 100 Network, which brings together three powerful tools. One, my podcasts and blogs. Second, a better, longer, and happier card deck series. And three, the Living to 100 community, a place to connect, learn, and thrive together. To learn more, visit livingto100.club for my podcasts and blogs. Join our group forum at livingto100.community. And for the card decks, go to livingto100.solutions. Thanks for being part of the journey. Now let's dive into today's conversation. On today's program, I'm joined by Ageist, counselor, writer, and author of Design for Your Mind. Together, we explore how aging can become a journey of self-reinvention, resilience, and creative renewal. Annie shares personal stories from her transition to graduate school when she was in her 50s, her equine-assisted counseling work, and the courageous steps she took to shift careers and challenge internal doubts. First, a little background. Ageist is a counselor, equine-assisted therapist, and author of Design for Your Mind, a book that blends personal narrative and mental health strategies to help readers pursue self-awareness, growth, and positive change. Her work invites us to challenge societal assumptions about aging and to embrace life's next chapters with courage and curiosity. Annie, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could join us. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I admire the steps you've taken to continue to open new doors and start new chapters. Yeah.
I would say the same about you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, let's jump right into our questions. First of all, your book, Design for Your Mind, talks about self-reinvention. What inspired you to write the book, and how did the process help you find your own voice?
Could I first state the subtitle of the book, because that helps to
explain
my orientation. Design for Your Mind, How a Family Caregiver and Mental Health Therapist Renovated Her Home to Recharge Her Life and Didn't Break the Bank.
Yeah, that's an important subtitle. I'm sorry I left that out, but I'm glad you added it.
It wasn't that I worked so hard to craft it. It's that it explains some of the context in which I found myself when I tackled this design project.
Sure.
I'm the oldest of four children. I'm the oldest daughter, of course, and I lived next door to my parents during the last few years of their lives. My dad had Parkinson's. My mom had struggled with spinal stenosis for many years prior to that. And eventually she developed dementia. So I was there to the end. Very happily, we were able to hire, finally, we were able to hire some good caregivers who were trustworthy and competent and loving. But my siblings and I would collaborate as best we could on our responsibilities to our parents. My two brothers lived out of state, and my sister lived in the next town. So a lot of this was done by conference call, but I was the person there on the ground. After my dad died first, my mom died 4 years later, and then my sister and I, being the only two living in the local area, did most of the work, just clean out the house.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a long, involved process that I suspect uh, your audience knows well.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It starts with the appraiser and
Mhm.
all kinds of things, but we worked out a system for having the siblings select items through a process that we thought would minimize hard feelings and
Hmm.
arguments. We were fairly successful with that. Um, but eventually we ended up with a house full of things that were not chosen. Some went to the auctioneer and many we had to donate. So a lot of my research went into finding the nonprofits that would accept certain categories of items like wheelchairs, upholstered furniture. When it was all finished, I had inherited the house and I could start the redesign process, but I was a little worn out, and needed to find my spark again.
Uh-huh.
Um, what I did was try to combine my what I understood about mental health, um, and my lifelong passion for interior design
Mm.
to use colors, shapes, textures, um, design concepts that would help me feel free again, that could encourage me to breathe freely and deeply. And I wanted to be able to recapture my creativity, and my sense of well-being and my focus. Um, and all of this had been sort of depleted um, over time.
Sure. While you were a caregiver. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a house sorter outer.
Mm.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Yes. Mm. Mm.
Some of these ideas involve color, which I could tell you about anything you're specifically interested in, but a lot of these ideas involved the color I chose for walls. Um, Light colors to make the walls appear to recede rather than advance as they would register on the eye with a dark color. So the rooms could feel larger, I could feel freer. I would use the diagonal line, as I stood at the entrance to a room, I would put something large and interesting and arresting in the corner of the diagonal line that I would see from that entrance to draw the eye, and then position interesting shapes and textures that the eye would sweep up on its way to that corner. When I would have a choice between a wooden coffee table and a glass coffee table, I would choose a glass coffee table because glass is transparent, it reflects light, but it also allows the eye to travel through it, and it wouldn't block the eye on the way to the
Mm-hmm.
diagonal corner.
Oh, it's below it.
All of these things
Mm.
made an enormous difference to my sense of well-being and feeling that I was losing um, of a sense of constriction. But one of the most important things was tackling the clutter in the house. That is clutter that accumulates over time, for any with any person, but it can that accumulation of clutter can accelerate as one's parents age and it becomes more difficult for them to sort through their own items.
Mm.
So my parents weren't hoarders, but there were layers of things that they hadn't used in years and no longer
Sure.
needed, but they hadn't culled from their um, repertoire. Um, but that was much of what my sister and I um, tackled, and that took
The
months.
uncluttering, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Problem in it, I will continue, and please stop me if
Well,
you have a question.
it sounds like as you talked about getting your spark back and allowing some of your own spirit and drive and energy and creativity to surface again and put into action. That allowed you to kind of redesign the house, to apply your talents to it, but it also was very freeing for you to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you wrote the book about the
Well,
process.
yes, because um, it, during the process, certainly of researching the laborious research into nonprofits that would accept hospital beds,
Hmm.
um, and wheelchairs,
Hmm.
shower chairs, books, not so challenging books, upholstered furniture, believe it or not. The auctioneer wouldn't take it. No matter how nice it was and whatever condition it was in, the idea is that upholstered furniture just doesn't tend to sell.
No.
Um, but the process of researching, finding these sources um, to take these items inspired me to capture them in the hopes that other people going through the same
Hmm. Hmm.
situation, um, which is often the same person who's been the caregiver for years, or the primary sibling caring for parents, is also the person sorting through the house, which might take many more months.
Sure.
And if I could spare other people any of that effort, it would help to vindicate my efforts,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I would know that other people could go on with their lives a little sooner than they might.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I was just at a relative's. My brother-in-law was caring for his wife, and she passed away a couple of weeks ago. And of course, in those last couple of years, there's so much, just a lot of activity with doctors and hospitals, and a lot of things get, I won't say neglected, but don't get addressed in the home. And now he's faced with exactly the process that you went through with your sister, and how to deal with a lot of the accumulations, the belongings, the personal treasures, the clothes, the jewelry, all of that, the books, the paintings, and trying to deal with all of that. So your book was a way to um, kind of lighten the burden for other people going through that process.
He hasn't seen the book?
What's that?
Has he seen the book?
No, no, I just recall I should send him a copy. I think I will send him a copy. You kindly send me a copy and I'll send one him. Yeah.
Oh, I would be glad to send him a copy. Um, I I'm very sorry about his loss. Um, and just a kind of a larger benefit to the book, I hope, is that people don't feel so alone in these
Mm,
circumstances.
mm,
That they can hold something in their hand that um, says
yeah,
that other people who've been through this had to go through the same process, had to think, ask the same questions.
yeah,
Um, and one of the most pernicious features of caregiving and this after after departure process, is isolation, is feeling alone. And that's not good for you.
Mm, sure, sure. Yeah, some of it is protective, of course, and let me wall off too much of the external world because I can't process all of that. But you're
Yes.
right, that can become um, an ineffective coping mechanism. Yeah, yeah,
Maladaptive. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. I mean, and that's a wonderful insight. So
yeah,
I mean, it can serve self-isolation can serve some useful functions,
sure,
but
sure.
it can also become a trap.
Yeah,
And when it contributes to kind of a rumination because you don't have other thoughts, other
mm,
brains
mm, mm,
participating in your thought process,
mm,
um,
okay, yeah,
it can lead to depression.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I said that to him when we were saying goodbye, and I said, "Be careful you don't get pulled into that. It's like a vacuum sometimes; it just sucks you into that hole,
Yes,
and while you're flooded with the negative thoughts, and
yes,
you got to fight
yes,
it, and you got to fight it very hard, and
yes. There's,
allow the whole world to come in, not just the negativity." So,
yes,
yeah, you're right. So,
yep.
you talk about comfort zone. I know we discussed this too, and how it's that cozy, familiar, predictable place, and it's safe, and we all like those comfort zones, but it's also restricting, right? How do you describe that process?
Well, it's very related to what we were just talking about. It's
Yeah.
seductive. Your comfort zone is seductive. You know you're safe, you won't get hurt, and
Mm.
and yet um, it can lead to the isolation that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Um, the and then we have, if you've had a long period of caregiving, and then the executor of the will responsibilities, they're habits that build up.
Mhm.
Um, and isolation can become a habit.
Mm. Sure.
So it's useful to start to think, to become conscious of those habits and ask ourselves if they're actually conducive to our health.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, there are easy ways to kind of jar ourselves out of the habit of isolation. It might be um, setting up a kind of a routine with a particular friend where once a month you go to a movie, um, or you go to your favorite
Yeah.
lunch place and then stop off at Trader Joe's for
Hmm. Yeah.
groceries.
Yeah.
Because the systems that you set up don't require rethinking the idea to reach out. That they
Yeah.
can become,
Yeah.
they remind you, they're their own reminder.
Sure. It's not an effort each time
It's
you
not
do it.
an effort,
Yeah.
but it's important.
Yeah. And that brings to mind this whole notion that people kind of look for reassurance and support to help them with their depression and loss. And that's valuable. I don't want to minimize that. But at some point, I think we need to engage in the behavior, like stepping out to the movies with a friend rather than waiting for the depression to lift. I
Oh,
think
heaven.
it's the behavior that helps to reduce that weight, that emotional weight, and
Yes,
we get out of our head and we get out of our thinking process and we just go out. I think it's the behavioral activation theory that
yes.
allows us to don't wait for the emotions to lift, but the actions, the behavior changes the emotions.
I mean, I am still trying to teach that lesson to myself
Yeah,
still.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
these, um, it's so, I mean, you and I have never discussed this before, and so I may be a little inarticulate, because it's occurring to me now. It is so easy to think that feeling blue is just something that happened, and not step back and ask yourself what might have contributed
Sure,
to it.
sure.
Such as you're falling into the habit of watching Netflix till 2 a.m, or
The triggers.
I mean, things that you're eating or drinking, that you can, or have you forgotten to swim your laps for 3 days in a row? It's so easy to kind of become captured by that state of mind and think that it exists as its own entity, and you have no power against it. You may have been engaging in some behavior that led to it.
Yeah, there are triggers, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
So you were, when we talked, you described your process of going back to school, and you're going back to graduate school in your 50s, and maybe you stepped out of your comfort zone of sorts and started this really ambitious undertaking to get your graduate degree. So what do you say to people who say, oh, it's too late for me to do something like that? I'm too old. I don't have it in me. What do you say?
Well, I mean, that actually harkens back to what we just talked about. That's a pattern of thinking that one can convince oneself of. And certainly there are all kinds of messages coming from the culture that you would love to have you believe that. But the fact is, if you've lived a full life, and particularly if you've spent years caregiving, you've accumulated some skills that you may not be giving yourself credit for. And such as the ability to organize, the ability to manage time, and manage people, perhaps. But also the value of the life experience is that you have earned is actually comprises a type of intelligence called crystallized intelligence, which can help equip you to learn new skills and absorb and process new information. So if your challenge is, if you've always wanted to write a short story, but you don't think anybody wants to hear your voice, you probably have more insights, more writing experience, a finer command of language. You've read more than you did when you were 25.
Yeah, we tend to equate our age sometimes with a lack rather than an abundance. And there really is an abundance. And we lose touch with that because we say, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that. Well, there's 1,000 things we still can do, and let's not lose sight of that. And let's not.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Which, by the way, may include technical skills, which people may have convinced themselves are beyond the reach of anybody past the age of 6.
Yeah.
I would argue that it's nonsense.
Yeah. So we're still seeing some of that negative stereotyping about aging, right? And our society still is not seeing all the upsides, or it's not touting, it's not promoting the benefits, the good things. And what are your thoughts on that? How do we reshape that vision of aging as loss to aging as gain?
Well, if we're talking about boomers, members of the baby boom generation,
Yeah, yeah.
this is a huge cohort, huge. Um, if we decide that we want to speak up about this, we will have impact. It might be a good idea for us to take stock of our own power, the power of
Mm,
numbers,
mm,
in addition to the power of our accumulated life experience. Um, but the pressures, these messages that are coming from the culture, would like very much to convince us that we have nothing more to say and we're no
mm.
longer useful. If we say, um, I would disagree, and so would millions and millions of people. I think the membership of the AARP is, am I correct? You please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 37 million.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I've heard numbers like that in the millions for
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
if we decide to take a stand, if we decide to push back on aging
Hmm.
as individuals and as collectively
Hmm.
and as a collective, we will have an impact. Of course, we will have an impact. There are too many of us, not to have an impact. But if I would encourage all of us to speak up when we see instances of ageism, say in a comment section of the New
Yeah,
York Times,
yeah.
um, because these things are just thrown around casually because it's all right to talk like this,
Hmm. Yeah,
um, and say, hey, wait a minute.
yeah, yeah. We still see those stereotypes in television and
Oh,
commercials and
and
ads and yeah.
I didn't like these things when my parents were old
Uh-huh.
or even before I was offended then. I didn't have to reach any kind of age to myself
Uh-huh.
to find the infantilizing offensive, um, to be really offended when I would walk into a restaurant with my mom in her wheelchair and the person at the front desk would ask me if my mother wanted to sit next to a window.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
her mind was sharp. She was a brilliant woman.
mm,
And I, I thought it was absolutely foolish.
yeah,
I think it's foolish to talk to adults as if they're children. Um,
sure.
it's insulting.
Yeah. I used to see that all the time in nursing homes when I worked in as a psychologist, and we'd see that infantilizing all the time, and it was really unfortunate. So yeah, you have to point it out when you see it and
Yeah.
offer another alternative, offer a different take on that, different perspective.
And you can do it without embarrassing
Of
the
course,
person in the restaurant.
that's important. Yeah.
You simply turn to your mom and say, where would you like to sit, Mom?
Yeah.
And she can answer.
Yeah. 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 That's right. Yeah, addressing the individual himself or herself rather than the caregiver or the person accompanying him. So tell us about the equine assisted therapy. How does that play into this big panorama of Annie Guest?
Um, I practice traditional therapy. I mean, my the I use traditional counseling theories with a particular emphasis on dialectical behavior therapy.
Uh-huh.
And your audience may know what that is, but if they don't, it's a subgroup of cognitive behavior therapy, which which is used. Dialectical behavior therapy is used um, primarily or often to treat um, people with borderline personality disorder, people whose thoughts are particularly distorted, whose sense of reality is particularly distorted, and experience tremendous suffering as a result. Um, so I don't operate under some free-floating equine-assisted theory and wouldn't do that. I don't consider that responsible. So this is evidence-based. But what I found, what I had suspected, was that horses and ponies provide such immediate feedback for learning that when a client is practicing, say, emotional regulation, and is riding a little pony and is learning to breathe deeply and relax his or her legs, the pony responds immediately with a longer, more relaxed stride, because the legs aren't clamping around the pony, and maybe snuffles. There's a particular sound that horses and ponies make when they're just completely relaxed. It's kind of it sounds like it's a loud snuffle. So you listen for those during a session, and then you commend your client for having brought that about.
Okay, here's the feedback. Good job.
Immediate feedback.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids love to come out and they're having their therapy session, but what they are telling their friends is, look, I know how to ride, or I'm taking riding lessons. So they're building new equine related skills that help boost their confidence.
Yeah, I had a guest on just last week who started war horses for veterans, and they use horses as therapy for military veterans who have PTSD and have some trauma-related events in their lives related to their military. And he's doing something very similar and as powerful as you are with his group. The veterans come to his ranch, and they're in Kentucky, and they're there for maybe a week or so and spend the whole time learning how to connect with their horses, with the animal, and kind of just work through a lot of that pain and trauma that's been locked up. You might want to contact him, Andy Brown.
War Horses for Veterans.
War Horses for Veterans. WHVH.org. Yeah.
Thank you. What may be useful in that program is that the veterans are able to identify when they're becoming anxious because the horse they're riding is teaching them that. The horse they're riding is responding to their emotional state. And they might be able to monitor themselves before a panic takes over.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sure. Yeah, the sensation of release and relief without the anxiety buildup.
Before it snowballs.
Yeah.
And I believe that dogs, service dogs who work with veterans with PTSD are able to do the same thing. They might waken the veteran up as from a nightmare.
Yeah. They can sense that, right? Yeah. When the individual is experiencing that. So, in the couple of minutes left, tell me, what do you think about this whole world of resilience that we talk a lot about, and how it allows us to overcome setbacks when we get knocked down and we have a loss, or we have a medical event, or we have to move, we have something unpleasant in our life? How do how do you see resilience as coming into the picture?
I think, I mean, I'm having to work on that myself, but I think that for me, it has to start with accepting what is.
Hmm.
Um, and my my work with my as I was caring for my parents helped me to understand or appreciate the duality of sadness and joy in the same moment.
Hmm.
Um, and to uh, not to run away from something that caused me pain
Hmm.
because there was joy within it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is that is what we call radical acceptance
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the dialectical behavior therapy world.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but I have found I found when I started working on the design for the house that when I took I, that same orientation, I would look at design elements that were 100 years old and unique and accept them rather than feel any impulse to tear them apart. And
Hmm.
I would design so that I could celebrate them and enhance them.
Yeah.
It might be the frieze in the atrium.
Hmm.
Um, but I think what it comes back to for me is that only only once I accept what is am I able to create from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can't accept what is, I'm just procrastinating, I'm running away, I'm denying. If I accept what is, and this is not saying accept things that are intolerable that you can change, but if there's something that you can't change, there may be a creative way to address it.
Hmm. Well, I think, thank you for that. You're talking about recognizing the emotions, right? The grief, the sadness, kind of sense of longing or emptiness, and it's hard to move beyond that until we allow ourselves to process it, right?
Yeah.
And once we do, it might take days or months or maybe years, but we can't bounce back until we let go of that.
Yes, and you're going to be all right. Um, I mean, you say we have only a couple of minutes. The benefit of cleaning out the house is that you're pulling yourself rather than hiring a service to come and do those things,
Hmm.
is that you're pulling out a lot of memories that you may be able to reprocess
Hmm.
and make peace with.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, for
Yeah.
me, that has
Yeah.
been part of the healing.
Yeah. That's a good point. Otherwise, they can be stored away and we don't know
Yes.
they're still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Physically and emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Wow. What a great conversation.
Thank
So
you.
much to talk about. What is your website, or where can people learn more about your work?
My book is my limited edition of my book is available on my website. It's www.annieguestdesignforyourmind.com. The regular edition of my book in paperback and hardback and ebook is available on Amazon,
Oh,
on Barnes& and Noble website online, and bookshop.org.
great. So on your website, Annie Guest Design for Your Mind, designs for your
Design,
mind.com.
just one design, just
Single,
singular design.
singular.
Yep,
Okay, design.
yep. But now I'm on Instagram,
Uh-huh.
Pinterest, and Substack, and
Oh,
Blue
good.
Sky.
Good, good. I'm making the rounds too. Nice. We'll see you over there sometime.
We can, I don't know what you call it on Instagram. Maybe we can friend each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I've just started TikTok and I'm really enjoying
Oh,
TikTok.
really?
Yeah, doing short videos, little clips. Uh,
Really?
I never liked Facebook. I shouldn't. Oh well, I never got
No,
a.
no. Believe me, I mean that's another conversation.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you already. Yes. But I'm finding Instagram maybe because its focus is so visual,
Uh-huh.
and less text dense.
Yeah,
It has a happier feel.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, we can talk more about that sometime. But it looks like we're out of time for today, though. Before we wrap up, Danny, I just want to remind my listeners to visit my website for my blogs and podcast library. That's living200.club. Be sure to visit my new community for connection and experiences. That's living200.community. And if you're part of a senior living setting, don't miss my Better, Longer, and Happier card deck series. That's at living200.solutions. With 12 engaging modules, it's a powerful tool for promoting wellness, personal growth, and meaningful conversation. Annie, thank you again for joining us today. I really appreciate your insights and your words of connectivity to the human experience. I think that was wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. It was a privilege, and thank you for everything that you are doing.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. Till next time, stay positive, stay inspired, and keep thriving.